It's turn 6 of our playthrough of Leningrad from Decision Games, and turn 6 takes us into August, 27th of July to the 2nd of August 1941, and the Germans are much happier now. They both prongs of their attack, the northern coastal route, seem to be progressing nicely. This turn we get well, there's no replacements to catch up on. One thing I've just been reviewing some of the video footage I took earlier, and I realised I have made an error. That should have been reduced from an earlier one. So I have been counting 3 extra points, but I've looked back. I don't think they've made a material difference to any of the conflicts that is in, but I'll have to swap that out. Other than that, there's been a few rule errors, but hopefully you'll spot them in the videos, and I don't think any of them have made a massive change. I've played this about 7-8 times now, but as always, there's always something you forget if you're playing on your own. Hopefully you'll have spotted them, and if you do spot anything else, please put it in the comments. Right, so our strategy is move on here, we can get the armour through, surround Pskov, and surround here. Let's see how we do that in the movement phase. So this is the end of the German movement. The 41st Mechanised Corps is really pushing down the road to Leningrad now. We have Pskov surrounded. I mentioned earlier we needed some of the weaker units and also some of the weaker full divisions. They can be useful in this screening down here to avoid any unfortunate attacks coming through and cutting off our supply. So I'll move these here, and we've also, well, we can't unfortunately totally surround the unit up here, so it's going to get some kind of retreat or escape, but we can keep on pushing it back. We also get a weaker division, which is coming along from the west. It's off shot, but it's working its way up there and will appear later. Probably just to help down here if need be. So that's the end of movement. Now we'll do our attacks. Right, so 3 attacks. Up here in the north we've got a 69-8, which comes to an 8-1. Defenders are in the swamp and with armour, so they have 2 negative shifts, but those are cancelled out by the Stukas and the Corps, so we're at an 8-1. We roll a 1, which is attackers back 1, so they actually only have 1 choice, and back they go. And I'll move these infantry in to hold them back if they want to. Down here, Pskov, I've realised I forgot to move a division up, but Germans organisation letting them down there, which makes this a 50-5, which is a 10-1, but there's a 1 negative shift for a city and then second one because it's a Soviet city to take it down to 8-1. So 8-1 again, another 1. It has to get into the swamp again. It's the only place it can go, and these will advance in. Now that was quite important because you'll see I had this marker here to remind myself. Whilst he was there, this was actually out of supply. It couldn't trace 5 movement points past these because it'd be 2, 4, and this is a swamp which is actually 3, so it's 7, or 2, 3, 4, 5. It was just short. It needed them to capture this. So now it can go 2, 4.5 for the city. So he's safe. So he isn't out of supply, and as supply is only calculated at the moment you attack, This means this is a 29-3, a 9-1. He gets the shift for the forest, but cancelled out by the core. 9-1. See if we can roll something else other than a 1. We can. It's 3. He's eliminated. And actually, can he advance? You can trace down the road, so that'd be half 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, actually, he can't advance without leaving him out of supply, so he is going to stay where he is. So that's the end of the German turn. Let's do the Soviet half next. So the Soviet part of turn 6 starts again with the placement of forts. So put another one on the road here and another one on the road here. We've got 4 more forts coming in turn 7 and 8, so that will cover Leningrad if we need it. I would normally be considering putting one down around Novigrad, but I think the Germans are going to be hard pushed to get anything through there, and I'm also going to launch some of the attacks or further delaying actions from the south as well. So let's have a look at the movement. I think this is time for the armour to pull out. It's going to disengage. That's +3, which means it's actually 6 to get into that, but it can then use road movement to get itself back to the fort. We can then move these divisions up to accompany it. Here, I think it's time to start manning these forts against here. We have 2 new divisions continuing down the line from here, and then I mentioned last time you could hold some back. I held an armour unit back. I've also got a mechanised unit coming on. I'm going to bring them in here so that we can try and hold up the Panzer unit again. So that's going to be 1 and 2, 3. I think he's actually going to go to there to get the maximum defensive terrain, and actually no, I'm going to go to there just in case there's Germans get suicidal and want to charge through Novigrad. That will cover that off. Here he's got to stay. So that's the end of the Soviet turn 6, turn 7 up next. It's turn 7 of Leningrad from Decision Games. And the Germans need to keep on pushing their attack as quickly as they can now. There's a lot of Soviet reinforcements coming in the next few turns. In the north here, we're really just going to have to move forward as far as we can to eliminate this unit, which isn't going to be that far, unfortunately. Here, the question is, how do we push up and start attacking this line of forts without making sure we do finish off this to keep our supply lines open. The screening forces we've had down here are largely irrelevant now. There's only one further entry of Soviet reinforcements can come in here. They actually start coming from the far north in this turn, as the Soviets pulled troops from their the northern front, which was facing the Finns, and threw them into the defence of Leningrad. So no replacements for the Germans. We'll go straight into movement, and I'll come back after I finish that. So that's the end of German movement. We've moved up and surrounded this division to finish it off. We've sent the 41st up to attack here. These two are screening this unit so it's going to stop it sneaking past us. We've got the Brecon divisions just giving us cover down here in case they try something sneaky. Up here we're lined up to attack, but we can only attack from these two. Just shows the power of zones of control and the blocking what one unit can do. It may be eliminated, but if not, it can still retreat down the road. So we're in a good shape there. So we've got three attacks to do. I'll just calculate the odds and then we'll put those through. Right, starting from the top, we have a 51 to 3. Well and truly a 10 to 1 even with the marsh. So anything but a 1, yep, that's eliminated, and we'll move the infantry in. Down here we've got 30 to 5, 6 to 1. They're out of supply, but they're in a marsh, so it only gives us a bump up of 1. So that's 7 to 1. 6 out of 7 to 1 is eliminated. So, and here we've lucked out. There's a very weak division, only 2. This is part of the hazards of playing the Soviets. You never quite know what you're going to get there. So 29 to 2, 14 to 1. He would lose 3 shifts or 3 columns because of the fort, the swamp, and the river. But that still only takes us down to an 11 to 1, and you'd actually move it back up to 12 because of the Panzer Corps. So 10 to 1, again, anything bar a 1 we want here, we get a 1. Let's say retreat of 2, which the Soviets will do. Now we have a interesting choice here, because I could follow up through with the 2, but that would leave me out of supply, and I've got the big turn coming up. But if I could push up and get supply to it, I've made a major breakthrough in terms of getting close to Leningrad. I can move it here is the closest I can go and still be in supply, because it would be 3 to get into this hex, 1 because of the river, 2, then 4, 5, and then away. I think I'm going to take the risk here and move in. Forces are destroyed when we Germans enter them for the first time, so that is moving that through. Now that, no, I was going to say that tempts me to have an attack on this down here, but I only have 14, 20, 26. If they're weak again, it would be good to push them back out, but actually I've got them a mesh now. They won't be able to move up greatly to attack, so nope, I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll come back next with the Soviet response. Oh, now there is one further thing. I haven't used my air, I didn't need to use them in there, and actually this turn I get a second air unit, so I can actually use the air interdiction phase here if I want to. So where are my reinforcements likely to be coming from? They're coming from up here. They can't reach me. So actually what I can do is I can also use these if I'm attacked. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold them off and use them if I'm attacked in the next phase. So no interdiction, onto the Soviets. So it's the Soviet half of turn 7. Things beginning to look a bit desperate. The 41st Corps is really going to cause some problems, and we need to somehow bottle it up. I've got 2 more forts to place at the start, and fortunately I can actually place one right under their noses here. You normally can't place them in zones of control, but your units negate that, so that allows us to bottle that up. And then I'm also going to place my first fort in Leningrad as well. In this turn, as I mentioned earlier, the reinforcements come down from the north. So we've got 1 mechanised which can rush straight up into there, and we've got 5 infantry divisions, or 2 infantry divisions, which allows us to put 1 more into there. He's going to have to hold there on his own, or do I? Actually, no, I'm going to take a risk, move him up as a backstop there. I think we're not going to get anything out of this area down here, so I need to disengage and move up, because if I can line up a decent attack on this in turn 8, and that's going to be the danger for the Germans, then I've got a good chance of pushing that back. And if I can inflict some losses, then that would really help my chances. So these have got to disengage. So that's 3 plus 3.5 for him. Can move in to there. I do need to make sure I keep this road open, so we'll hold that with the Novgorod with the mechanised unit, just to keep the Germans back. So that is the end of the movement. Do I risk a combat against the Germans? He's going to have his core bonus, he's going to have the woods, they'll be wiped out by the outer supply. I'll have the armour, but I could well end up, well, probably at best a 1 to 2, shifted up to 1 to 1. No, there's too much damage for the attacker. I think I'm just going to have to keep him bottled up and see how developments come in the next turn. So no combat on to turn 8.